Why is it? Why is it that some things in Hollywood work and some things don't? Why is it that some products, some movies, some television shows succeed and others don't? It's actually a question I ask myself a lot of the time, mainly because I feel like there's a disconnect between the general audiences and those who kind of operate in this bubble, in this sphere, who look at all of this news all day long and have to wonder, what is it that turns people off of certain projects? When people looked at a movie like Wish from Disney, why is it that no one went to see that one, but people did go to see other such animated movies over the years? And, it's very easy. People use the term woke. I don't really like that term a lot these days because it's so vaguely defined, and everyone who is everyone will tell you that they've got the ironclad definition for it. I don't like it. I'm going to judge a movie on basic elements. Do I like it? Do I not like it? The term certainly applies for certain things, but I'm not a fan of it for the most part. But one thing that you do have to look at is where things are working. We focus a lot on Disney. We focus a lot on the failings of Disney. Certainly, this has been an awful year for them, reflected in their stock prices, their lack of any success at the box office, the gigantic ballooning budgets on all of their projects that make it impossible for them to make any of their money back on all of these things. And it's gone beyond the culture war. Elon Musk has had more than a few things to say about Disney, the stock. We've got Nelson Peltz and what is going on with the proxy war at the company. But it's not just about Disney and where things are failing. It's also about where things can be succeeding, because when projects succeed, I would hope that these companies, even though I don't think they will, you would hope that these companies would look at why some of them are successful and wonder why they can't replicate that formula within other genres and businesses. So you look at a show right now like Reacher, which had this fantastic season 1, which I've gone on the record as saying as being the only thing in the last several years that I've thought was truly the benchmark for Hollywood. And what I mean by that is it's expensive to go to the movies. $18 for a ticket, $8,000 for popcorn and drinks and stuff like that. You don't just have Netflix now. You got Netflix, Hulu, Amazon Prime, all of these streaming services. It's no longer consolidated to one place. You have to pay a lot of money to watch what's being put out from Hollywood today. But it's not just that. There's also your time. Your time is valuable. Your time is money. So the number one benchmark I have for whether a show or a movie should be considered successful is whether you yourself are willing to give that product more of your time than what it takes to watch just once. And Amazon's Reacher is exactly that for me. I loved season 1. I watched it 2 or 3 times, and season 2 is premiered, and it's already doing absolutely fantastically. We've got this article here from Bleeding Fool. It says, Reacher season 2 crushes season 1, becomes Amazon's number 1 show of 2023. Reacher season 2 has been crowned number 1 at Amazon. The first 3 episodes of the season debuted on December 15th and quickly resonated with audiences. In fact, these 3 episodes surpassed the entirety of season 1 by an audience amount of 50% in just the first 3 days. So it shouldn't just be whether you have an audience. It should be about whether you can build an audience from the one you already established. This is something that Amazon has actually struggled with. If you guys remember, Amazon is not just responsible for successful projects like Terminal List and Reacher. They also had the ill-fated Lord of the Rings, The Rings of Power, which actually had the complete opposite problem here. So when The Rings of Power debuted, it had thousands of articles written about it, about these fantastic viewing numbers for episode 1. I think they said 25 million people tuned in to watch episode 1. Well, because we work in this space and we talk about entertainment every day, we had to keep an eye on what those viewing figures were like week to week. And what we started noticing very quickly was that they were being very, very difficult with publishing any such statistics after that initial debut. Because these companies aren't required to give you their viewing figures the way that they would have, if this was on network television, whether it was the Nielsen ratings and stuff like that, they're only going to publish these numbers when they're good, right? So you get 25 million viewers for episode 1, but then as it goes on and the numbers drop statistically by large margins, they're not going to talk about that anymore. All you're going to see is those articles about how great they were to start, and the access media will fall in line and they won't publish anything to the contrary, and they're not going to ask too many questions, but the question should be asked. What were the numbers like after that big start? Well, we're seeing how that's working in their favor this time, time. Rings of Power may have failed, but it's working in their favor this time over at Amazon with a show like Reacher, which grew its audience by 50% from season 1, which is fantastic. You need to build on the numbers of what you've originally created. Why does it resonate with so many people? It's unpretentious. It sticks, at least as far as I've been told by everyone who has read the books, it's close to the source material. It gives you a strong, competent protagonist that is not considered stupid. He is not overshadowed constantly by the people around him. It's not pushing an agenda other than to tell an interesting crime thriller. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. There's a reason why they work so diligently to buy up IP everywhere from these books that have actually done good numbers, because they're being written by people who are actually telling good stories. But the second Hollywood gets their hands on most of these properties, they end up getting butchered beyond all comprehension. There's changes to the cast, there's changes to characters, and by the time it reaches the screen, it's incomprehensible from what it looked like when it started. Why does it seem that whenever they do at least a decent amount of justice to the source material, the audiences will come out? Think of Peter Jackson and Lord of the Rings and how beloved that franchise is and how beloved those movies are on top of the books. Perhaps one of the most minefield-filled properties you could work on because of how passionate the fan base is, but because it was 20-something years ago, because Hollywood had not fallen into all of the pitfalls that it had fallen into today, you got something that resonated with the audience, and that's what we're seeing here. It says Reacher is now the number one title for Prime Video in terms of total viewers across all series and films globally. Currently, the series is available in more than 180 countries. This is the biggest premiere weekend that the streamer has had for any series since Lord of the Rings of Power. I want to keep a close eye on this as well, because I would bet that the audience will grow because people are getting nothing but good word of mouth for this film. That's what sells a movie these days, right? So you can have an actor. So I'll steel man as best as I can. So there's an actor like Tom Cruise who is not just an actor's actor, but he's an audience's actor, right? People love Tom Cruise because he goes out of his way whenever at any chance that he can now to talk about how much he loves the fan base, how much he loves the audience, how much he adores you for coming out to the movies, because for years audiences have been getting crapped on by stuck-up actors who feel that they don't need you, even though for a lot of them, they just went through a large strike related directly to residuals. But you would think that for people that pretend like they didn't need you, the audience, they would care more about what you think. But let's take Tom Cruise. Okay, so in the last 2 years, he's released 2 movies, both of which from an actor people like, from franchises that people know, and only one of those did very, very well. We got Top Gun Maverick, and we got Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning. Well, Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, it had hundreds of millions of dollars on top of the budget because of COVID protocols, and Top Gun Maverick, it didn't succeed because of the amazing visuals. It had amazing visuals, but why did Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning fail while Top Gun Maverick succeeded? It is because the word of mouth on Top Gun Maverick was so strong that more people started going after that opening weekend. It had strong holds from week to week. It kept making money because people kept going and saying to their friends, look, you got to see this movie. It's fantastic. It doesn't hate this country. It's got a strong protagonist that you can really root for. It doesn't treat the rest of the cast that looks up to him are not treated stupidly either. It's just what would have been basic good storytelling 20-30 years ago, and audiences came out in force for this because they're not given projects like that much these days. But then you get Mission Impossible Dead Reckoning, which I did like, but for a lot of people, it was a boilerplate action movie. It didn't have that strong word of mouth that Top Gun Maverick did, and it didn't do as well as it needed to at the box office. In fact, some people were even questioning whether you would end up getting Dead Reckoning Part 2 because COVID meant that the movie cost an even larger amount than it already did, which hurt its ability to make its money back. So why is a show like Reacher, which is off in this tiny demographic, right? There's another article here that essentially lists it as dad TV. right? Why is it that Disney, which is being skewered right now by the general public for taking all of these liberties with their characters, changing all of their characters for the sake of trying to find this larger audience? Why is Disney failing? Why did Wish bomb at the box office? Why did every other Disney movie manage to barely either make its money back or fail this year? Almost every movie that Disney came out with failed this year. Guardians of the Galaxy made a little bit of money, made $800 million, but for Marvel, that ain't much. Why did Wish fail? Why did the Marvels fail? Why did Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania fail? It's because people are either sick of watching these movies. Like the superhero genre is, for a lot of people, it's not fatigue, it's that they're making bad superhero movies. But why do movies like the Marvels fail? Why does Wish fail? Because people feel like they're being pandered to, and people don't resonate with projects that feel like they're being pandered to larger audiences. They're making all of these changes because the original source material wasn't good enough. They have to try to attract these new audiences, so they change the characters, they change the plot points. Why is it that when a show like Reacher, which is focused, it's tightly made, it appeals to a certain demographic? Well, guess what? There are a lot of dads out there. There are a lot of dads that want to go out and watch TV, that want something to watch on a Friday night, after the kids go to bed, or want something to watch on the weekend when they have a little bit of free time. Why is it that whenever these things are made, and it's few and far in between, remember, The Terminalist was good as well too, they will come out in force for those projects. Why is it that Hollywood doesn't deem that a prudent investment? I have no idea. I do know that for many, it's because, as we know, Hollywood is an extremely ideological group. It's an extremely ideologically focused industry, which means that what you're seeing right now is only a little bit related to profits. Certainly, a lot of people will reference things like ESG, stakeholder capitalism, the way that the market has shifted, funny money, bookkeeping, all of these things. Why are they allowed to keep making projects that fail? Because they don't appeal to the right demographic. Why did Barbie make $1 billion? Certainly it's a bit because of the toys, right? We know that the toys have 50, 60 years of history, so it's got a lot to do with that. But also it's because it was made for women. Right now, when Hollywood wants to make movies for women, what they do is they make action movies and then they put women in the lead characters. Well, guess what? Men watch action movies. Women watch action movies when their boyfriends or their husbands want to go and see it. But if these characters are being shoehorned in there, the men don't want to see it, and the women aren't going to come out to support it just because. But Barbie drew $1 billion at the box office because it's a project made by women for women, and it appeals to women. And they haven't learned their lesson on that either. As soon as that movie came out, what did they immediately do? They said, we're going to make movies about toys, Mattel toys. Well, guess what? That's the wrong lesson. That is not the lesson you're supposed to take from this. The lesson you're supposed to take from it is when you make a product with a specific group in mind, when you take care to honor the property and treat it with respect, the audiences will come out. And guess what? What you might also find is that when the audiences that they're meant for like it, people who weren't necessarily originally targeted for that project will come out to watch it as well. I'm technically not in this age demographic, right? I guess I am. I'm 37 years old, so I'm not a dad, but I love this show. So why can't you make more shows that appeal to smaller demographics and then allow for those demographics to extol the virtues of those products to the people who it might not fit into, and then they can check it out and find out that, hey, look, it's not that bad. It's good. Let's watch it. But the thing is, they're not going to do that. They're going to keep going the Disney route. And right now you've seen this. Disney fails to even make the $1 billion club in 2023, which is the first time that has happened in a very long time. So it says Disney failed to have a movie reach $1 billion in 2023, which is the first time since 2014. They don't count the pandemic years of 2020, 2021. Fine. I'll give you the leeway on that, though I hate the fact that Access Media is still using COVID as an excuse in 2022 and 2023. So Disney can't make their money back. Their stocks are plummeting. It's not just their stocks, but also $123 billion in revenue was lost this year. In market value was lost this year. Disney is failing. You're looking at companies like Warner Brothers, which is looking to possibly merge with Paramount right now. Why is it that everyone has to look for the phantom audience? Stop looking for the phantom audience. Find the audience it was meant for, make something that they will love, and then allow that audience to promote that product to people who might not otherwise see it. That is a recipe for success. I have no idea why Hollywood can't figure that out anymore. Half ideological, half stupidity. Make up that choice for yourself. What do you think it is? Do you think it's that Hollywood is just full of ideological douchebags? Are they illiterate financially? Are they just too focused on something that they can't see the forest through the trees, and they don't realize that what they're doing is making it harder on themselves than it actually needs to be? Personally, I think it's a lot of bit ideological and a little bit stupidity, but I think it goes both there. But guys, go ahead. Amazon Prime is doing something right with Reacher. Season 3 has already been greenlit. Have you guys been watching it? The other thing is, look, these topics are divisive. Right? The topic of the culture war and Disney and all of these brands are divisive. It pulls people apart because everyone's got their theories on why they're failing. Some people want to push back and say it's not as bad as you think it is. Some people say it is every bit as bad as you think it is. When we cover these topics, whether it's Disney and Elon Musk are beefing right now, whether it's all of these brands, whether it's Warner Brothers and canceling Batgirl, you get in the comments and people are arguing. And look, I love it. People have their opinions. People share their opinions. More power to each and every one of you. I love that because it sparks a conversation. But what I've noticed is that when I did my Reacher Season 2 episodes 1 through 3 review, look, it gets less views because people love to hate, right? People want to talk about the shit that's bad. But despite getting less views, all of the comments are positive. It's all people coming in here and saying, like, look, I love Season 1. I can't believe how much I love Season 2. It's fantastic. People saying, like, what was your favorite part of Season 2? Like, I've had discussions with people who are actually excited about something for once. I can't explain to you how much I miss that. I don't relish the crap that sucks in these industries. I want stuff that's good. I want stuff that makes me excited to turn the TV on again. It's very hard to find those properties. Look, I managed to find 17 movies that I liked this year and quite a few that I didn't like, but 17 movies that I liked this year, but not one that I would ever watch again. Maybe Gran Turismo. I might watch Gran Turismo again. I don't know what that. But it's few and far in between. So what we need is to help Hollywood understand that it's not just about reaching a wider audience. It's about reaching a smaller audience and letting that smaller audience be the word of mouth you need to promote these projects so that more money can be made, more good projects can be done. It's not that difficult, Hollywood. I think you guys can do it. But what do you guys think? Do you guys like Reacher Season 2? Let me know down below. But yeah, more to come from Hollywood, but they don't seem to learn their lessons, do they? Thanks for watching. Listen to full episodes of Pop Culture Crisis on Spotify.
Keep up with us on social media and make sure you subscribe and ring that bell so you never miss the show. Bye, guys.